Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. Give it up for 10 Hours of Metal instrumental by Jacob Lizolt. It's copyright free music right there. I'll send it in the chat. One moment. Let me switch over. How are we doing today? How are we doing today, folks? Let me get my ducks up here. See how the chat's doing out here. Feeling musical, feeling musical. All right, perfect. Then let me get the stream overlay on here and we'll have a functioning stream. Anyways, go check them out. Cool copyright free band that you guys can go check out. Did you link your new Discord? Not quite yet. I'm still working on a couple of the kinks in that bad girl, but it will be dropping here soon. It will be dropping here soon. By the way, how's the mic situation doing? I know I was having some issues yesterday. I was testing it out today and it sounded all right, but if I'm having any mic issues, let me know. Thank you, Rootsy. By the way, Sarutsi, very valuable. Oh, we got a caller, guys. Should we answer it? Let's give it an answer. It says it's spam. You are live to 5 million people as we speak. 5 million people are listening to you. What do you... Oh. Well, they hung up. Unfortunately, we were not able to see what they wanted. That breaks my heart. But yeah, I will have my Discord in. I will have a Discord for all of you next week, guys. So we don't have to, bother Kalinda's folks with all of our announcements for when we're going live, and also so I can get closer to you guys. So you guys might be able also see some news stories before we talk about them. I'll be sending a bunch of news stories in my streams and news section. As I've been using that Discord for a while just for my own personal use, but uh, I would love to use it as a congregation for all my dear fellows, all my dear fellows. Anyways, we've got a lot of news to get to. Well, it's a semi amount of news. We're going to be ending the Rise of RFK, the PBS documentary that we were watching yesterday, and then after that, we'll be getting to a announcement by Trump, Bondi, Noam, Hegseth, all the usual ghouls about how they are launching a full-scale war on the cartels. Very interesting stuff there. After that, we'll get into our news segment where we talk about all things news related. Me and Rootsy are 5 million people. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. 5 million and counting. You just wait. You just wait. The first story we'll be getting to is actually a bit of a win. It's a bit of a win for us. Trump reversing his decision to send troops to San Francisco after conversation with mayor. Now, we're going to get into it with the article, but I see this as him seeing the No Kings protest and having a bit of cold feet when it comes to this Nat Guard deployment. Anyways, we'll be getting into that. After that, there's this amazing article by the AP. We won't be reading all of it, but it's a story about how these Afghanistani citizens helped out the U.S. and then fled Afghanistan, got to the U.S. and then the U.S. deportations. So sorry, one of those days. But the U.S. deportations actually split their family completely up, and now they're stuck in this limbo area, and it's a very endearing story, very interesting, and really goes to show the levels that the Trump administration is willing to go to just to try to send some political message, because these deportations aren't really doing anything. If anything, we're actually losing jobs, which makes sense. But yeah, this deportation issue has got to stop, especially with ICE. But anyways, after that, we'll finally be getting into a little bit of Dem news, a little Dem news, and covering the CBS News poll on whether California voters want Newsom or Harris to run for president. Now, this is like, do you want cake or do you want ice cream? You know what I mean? Like, two amazing candidates that are just absolute presidential material, in my opinion, especially Newsom, in my opinion. He has shown a willingness to confront MAGA and to sometimes play their games. Um, and then Harris, I think, had great policy positions. She learned from personally my favorite president, President Joe Biden. Um, yeah, I mean, this would be a hard decision. So I'm really interested to see how Californians feel about this type of dynamic between the two. It's very if you were to ask the left, they're all the same, right? If you were to ask the left, they'd all say they're the same. But anyways, let's get to the articles, or not articles. Let's get to the rise of RFK as we were watching yesterday. Let me refresh my stream for you guys, my stream chat for you guys. Now, I think next week I'll have a prettier stream chat for you. It'll be really clean looking. So look forward to that. I'm going to work on that, and then I'm also maybe going to work on getting like a character. Now, I'm not sure. I don't want to promise anything, guys, because I've always been weary with the little characters, but I don't know. We'll give it a shot. Maybe it'll be like my channel icon. You can finally see the full thing of that. But no human can really bear that, so bear that in mind. Anyways, we're gonna get to the rise of RFK here in a moment. I just have to bring up Brave Browser. Shout out to Brave Browser. They are honestly amazing for blocking ads, blocking and giving you just a great service. Just a great service. Anyways, I think where we were last at, we were talking about RFK's endorse. I think we were right around here, but we'll start around here just to give anybody who wasn't in the audience a bit of a chance of catching up. But if you didn't know, RFK's life is pretty sad, but he's also a fucking whack job. So, a sad story doesn't give you full right to destroy the NHS. So that's my opinions on that. But let's continue. Let me just check the chat here. Me and Rootsy are 5 million. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I believe, it's the seeds, right? It's the seeds to something big. I really do feel confident in my community and my ability to communicate. So don't you worry, Pasta. Soon you're going to have a lot of friends. A lot of friends. So you better be careful. I don't know why you'd be careful, but I don't know, having too many friends, that might... I don't think there's a disadvantage to having too many friends, personally, but who knows?
Close to them, he would call them all the time.
My name is Joe Kennedy.
I'm Carrie Kennedy.
Troy Kennedy.
Kathleen
Oh
Kennedy
my
Towns.
God, this absolutely, inside, this just crushed his soul. Oh, I'm running for president, and these, my closest, my kin, stabs me in the heart. But it's not really a like, they've been telling him for years, you need to cut it out with this shit. So it's more like, it's not a stab in the back, more just a continuation on the path that they were already on. I already forgot what you just said, but I agree. Oh, about how you're gonna have a lot of friends here soon. We are going to be swimming. God damn it. I hate how OBS does the chat. It's like I can't bring it up too far, and if I do, it's the end of the world. That's all right. I really don't even need OBS. Like to look at OBS right now. Again, guys, I am streaming on a laptop.
And Chris Kennedy.
And I'm here to proudly endorse Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Joe Biden.
It was designed to send a message, and I think it did the job. I think it was covered nationally as, you know, this is a repudiation of RFK Jr.'s campaign.
I think Joe Biden is the RFK of his generation.
Oh, God. Just gutting him like that fucking worm gutted his poor fucking brain. Poor guy. I mean, you gotta feel bad for him. It's like seeing the loser that just can't learn to vibe in society. You're walking in an endless field of rakes. That's kind of how RFK's life feels. He's just walking and walking in an endless field of rakes.
Is a president who embodies the Kennedy legacy.
Bobby Kennedy's campaign was in trouble.
Yeah, and by this point, the worm has already taken full control of his frontal cortex, and he's not a real man. You can tell it in the eyes. I have it on good sourcing that man is very stiff as well. He's very stiff, and that's just a sign of the brain being taken over by said parasite. Now, there's not much hope for Bobby there. I'm trying to think of ways that he could remove the parasite without damaging anything, but even the doctors couldn't do that, so they just supposedly killed it, you know. Truth is, they had no idea what the fuck they were even looking at. They had no idea what the fuck they were even seeing. They just said, yeah, could go. Afraid for they want to see their families at night. You think they're taking that thing out? No, sir.
They're running out of money. His campaign was already, you know, on fumes.
Robert F. Kennedy is not going to be the next president of the United States, and it's looking more and more like he might not even impact the outcome.
His poll numbers start to plummet and then sort of stagnate in the single digits. Running into that summer of 2024, it was pretty clear that he had no path to victory.
Take a look at what happened.
Oh, come on. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this. I think we talked about this. This shit was so fake.
Take a look at what
Look at
happened.
this. Hold on. Let's study it closely. He's hiding from the camera. Activates blood pouch. Smashes it. He smashes his blood pouch. Goes down.
He is holding up his arm. He is pumping his fist.
Law enforcement agencies are treating this as an attempted assassination.
God drove that bullet straight from the barrel of that man's gun. They said, no, God said it wasn't your time. But it is the time of this firefighter. It is his time. He's gone. Just like that. You know, God works in mysterious ways. He really does, guys. He really does. Anyways. Let us continue. Oh. I don't care about Microsoft.
The day that the assassination attempt occurred with President Trump, Bobby really wanted to talk to President Trump. And that phone call happened within a few hours.
And it was a bullet going around. You know, what do they call that, an AR-15 or something? That was a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
Big guy on 2A, by the way. Huge Second Amendment supporter. They call it an AR-15, you know.
President Trump then said to Bobby, "I'm glad you called, Bobby. I've been wanting to talk to you."
Like a fucking dude. I'm telling you, when the history books look back, they're gonna be, God damn, how did so many people fall for that bullshit?
We should really work together.
I would love you to do so. And I think it'll be so good for you and so big for you. And we're going to win.
It'd be so big for you. You'd love it. It would, Bobby, you have no idea. You have no idea. It would be fantastic for you.
There's a lot on his shoulders. If I was to join President Trump, would he actually allow me to do anything? Does he really mean it? I think for Bobby, it came down to, if not Trump, then who?
Kennedy wanted a seat at the table. His closest allies behind him were kind of saying, we don't really trust Trump, or, we should do it.
That was hotly debated in Bobby's actual family. I'm not talking about his siblings, his actual family, of his own kids and Cheryl and others who had very strong.
But this just shows, like, yeah, exactly what the documentary has been kind of highlighting, is that he has no morals. He's willing to do anything to be in that public spotlight. Think about headphones died. I want to listen to this, so be right back. I'll catch up. Oh, you're good, dog. Take as much time as you need. But this just shows the willingness that RFK is willing to go to, or the hunger that RFK has for the attention to the spotlight. And that's not somebody you want in power. I mean, number one, Trump is like the obvious example of somebody who just is an attention hungry hog. But, when you get these little sycophants and you get these little sociopaths inside, and nobody's telling, and RFK is also especially bad. I don't know if they're going to cover it in this article, but I will link, if you guys want, an AP article that goes over how a lot of RFK's groups currently are advocating on the local level for vaccine reforms, and they're winning. They're winning in a lot of states. So this is he's an especially dangerous figure.
Strong opinions at times against that idea. I wrote a document strongly supporting the Trump candidacy.
We all went to High on Us Port to discuss it. What does it mean to cross over and join someone like President Trump?
It means to give up your your love for America. It means to give up your patriotism. It means to willingly give up the freedoms of others for your own benefit. That's what being fucking part of, that's what joining up with Trump means.
It was intense. It was one of those moments I'll cherish, I'll never forget. The morning of the last day when we were discussing it, I woke up thinking, Bobby, you shouldn't do this. But I had this really sinking feeling that this isn't the right move for Bobby. I met him on the beach in front of the Kennedy compound, and we walked down the beach.
I would have just, dude, you gotta tell him. You just gotta be like, dude, this is not worth it. Donald Trump has never been, great on health. So, and what else his little thing is doing is he's attaching it to MAGA. So while I think his vaccine shit is bullshit, but if he really wanted to help as many people, you wouldn't attach it to MAGA. You would make it neutral. But that's not what he wants to do. He knows this whole vaccine stuff is just for his own ego. It really is. That's what this documentary has shown. And it's heartbreaking that so many people now trust their lives in his hands.
And I said, Bobby, you have run telling your story of addiction and saying that we have to overcome self-will. It's hard for me to imagine if God is with us or behind this, that what you're supposed to do is bow to the feet of someone who is probably the greatest personification of self-will. That's Donald Trump. Why would that be the case?
Hey, what's up, Chase? Good to see you. How are you doing? Chase James, valued community member right there. Valued. Everyone here is.
And Bobby said, I want you to say all that today in front of my family, in front of everybody. It's a really.
That's good to hear. We're just going over this last little bit of the RFK story. What it has really shown is that RFK is willing to adopt any sort of belief as long as it gets him that attention, right? He's an egomaniac, honestly, it seems. And it's scary to think so many lives fall within his hands. His gross, maggot-covered, fucking wormy hands.
Really good point. And so I did. I was amongst over a dozen people that weighed in that day. And I gave a very impassioned plea.
Yeah,
I think I even had tears running down my face because we all just felt this beauty in Bobby. He's so honest and so empathetic and caring. And the image that many of us had of Trump was just the exact opposite of that.
That's what it is. He is the opposite. This man doesn't care about anything but himself.
There was a lot of inner circle drama, angst in those days. But ultimately, he decided that without a path forward, he didn't want to just, drop out with nothing. If he backed Trump and Trump won the White House, he could have meaningful power.
Yeah.
And by the end of that day, it was pretty much a unanimous decision. This is the right move. Trump's your only way forward. Can we trust him? Who knows? But you don't really have any other options.
So he signed his fucking patriotism away. He signed the freedom of so many others away.
Tonight, I'm very pleased to welcome a man. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the one and only.
People mentioned it was the loudest.
Don't mention the worm slightly jutting out of his brain. It makes him feel weird. He is a very weird person. I admit it. I admit he's very strange. I don't let him get near my noggin, but we're going to put that man in front of hell. That man in front of you in charge of hell. Yes. Get excited, folks.
Applause they've heard other than for President Trump. There was something electric about Bobby's acceptance into the...
Look at Trump. He's stunned. He doesn't want to get too close.
There was something electric about Bobby's acceptance into the MAGA community. I think Bobby was really energized by that.
He's ducking his head away. What the fuck? God, these people look evil. Trump looks like a cartoon character.
You have to imagine that kind of political attention is intoxicating. He never had that kind of rally size as a presidential candidate. That kind of access to the center of power is what he's in some ways been after his whole life.
I don't think I've ever introduced anybody that got applause like that.
The one addiction I think that he has now fully embraced is adulation.
Stiff. He's stiff right now. I'm sorry. That's the one word that just comes to me when I see Bobby Boy. Stiff. Like, memes aside, that man is stiff. He needs to, like... I don't know what's right. Part of me does kind of feel like there might be something, like, deeply wrong with that man. He is just so stiff and so stilted. It's very strange.
He goes where he can get it. I'm talking about...
We do live in the future, guys. Like, brain parasites aren't beyond the pale. Can we agree? Can we agree? Brain parasites aren't beyond the pale, okay?
Adulation from conspiracy theorists, from anti-vaxxers, from Trump voters, from the right wing. The Kennedy family was the epitome of Democrats.
Brain parasites that control you, I should say. We already know brain parasites exist with RFK, but that control
has chased adulation past the definition of what Kennedys were supposed to be.
His father,
but
Robert,
secretly are secreting pheromones. Sorry, I've been watching Alien Earth. That shit's sick, dude.
Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle.
I was actually inspired to watch Alien Earth because of this documentary. Because I kept thinking, like, that fucking worm in his brain has got to be controlling the man. And I ended up going and watching some Alien Earth. Great fucking show so far. I'm only on episode 1, so. But I'm really enjoying it.
President John F. Kennedy. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby. You want to know the truth?
You know, the actual legacy of his father is a legacy of progressive change. And the son has ended up as really an important part to destroy whatever remnants of that legacy there might be.
It was another reinvention. For now, let's talk about vaccines and a new catchphrase.
And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
Don't you want to make America healthy again? Like, fuck no, dude, if you're the one doing it. I want to make America as healthy as I am. I'm all right, sir. I think I'm doing just fine.
Make America healthy again. He built this new wing onto the MAGA movement, his own space where we knew he could live. It was brilliant. And the Maha movement was born in that moment.
And don't we deserve a president of the United States that's going to make America healthy again?
All right, you used it once. You used it once, and it's good. Use it again? It's kind of losing its glow. 3 times, well... don't say I didn't warn you about popularity.
Make America healthy again. Nobody can argue with that.
Vani Hari, who calls herself Food Babe, was part of a group known as the Maha Moms.
When I saw Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s speech, I just realized at that moment that, oh my goodness, we might actually have a chance to fix the food system.
Don't you want a president who's going to get the chemicals out of our food?
Fuck no. This is what I'm so against. Like, fuck no. I love the way my food tastes, to be honest. I don't give 2 fucks. Like, I love the way my food tastes, dude. Don't fucking take the chemicals out.
Robert F.
Keep
Kennedy
those
Jr.
motherfucking sodium nitrates in there, bro. Keep them in there. I don't want them out. That's what, like, everybody's like, oh, get them out, get them out. They seem to be doing just fine. It seemed the people from the fucking 2090s, they're not keeling over and dying all of a sudden. You know? I don't give a... These motherfuckers ate worse shit. And they're living to be 80. And look at their health. I'm sorry, I'll die on this hill, but Red Dye 40 just hits, dude. And you can complain about it all day until the fucking bell, you know, We should probably, if you want America to be healthier, you should probably let him see a doctor more. You should probably like, not let them just think that eating a burger every 5 minutes is healthy, like your president. I don't know though. I'm not a genius. I'm not.
Did not really talk about food until the end of 2024. That was not really a top talking point for him until you saw the Maha movement get launched. It was somewhat of a rebrand for him, so to speak, and a very populist one at that.
Nobody gets a standing ovation like that. What's going on over here?
Suddenly now, everywhere you're going, it's another room of 20 to 40,000 people jumping to their feet and cheering. It was like suddenly you knew you had a rock star. We knew Bobby was a rock star. Finally, he had a hit song. And it was going crazy.
The only way I'm going to go to Washington is if we get Donald Trump elected.
And on election night, Bobby Kennedy's deal with Donald Trump paid off.
Former President Trump once again becomes President-elect Trump.
President Trump surprised across the country, across every demographic group.
Our future was hanging in the balance over Trump winning. So I have to say, the moment he won is a huge relief.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he came in. And he's going to help make America healthy again.
We were so elated, and it was almost like, oh, we did it. And then the next morning, you know, it sort of sunk in. Wait a minute, Bobby's still got to get confirmed. There's still a vote that has to happen.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is Mr. Trump's pick for Secretary of Health and Human Services.
If confirmed, Kennedy.
Nick Fuentes eats his boogers. I just now remembered this. I don't know what reminded me of that, but Nick Fuentes eats his fucking boogers. Isn't that crazy? That kind of reminds me. Nick Fuentes is public enemy #1. I've seen he's been gaining traction, and we can't allow that Nazi to get more popular than the current one already. Because the current one already we can make fun of even more than Nick Fuentes. I mean, that motherfucker is digging for gold, you know what I mean? So, anyways. Groypers.
Would be in charge of the CDC, National Institutes of Health, with a budget of nearly $2 trillion annually.
What's on the line for him is something he's wanted for years. It's a seat of power that he's never held at that level. I mean, being a cabinet secretary is a huge political advancement for him, obviously. And it's also a culmination of his years of feeling like he's on the outside. Now he would be the one making the decision.
To get there, Kennedy would first have to go before the United States Senate.
This could also be a long road ahead for Senate confirmation.
There undoubtedly will be some heated reaction to this pick.
Dear Senators, now that Bobby has been nominated by President Trump to be Secretary of Health and Human Services, a position that would put him in charge of the health of the American people, I feel an obligation to.
This is what I'm so afraid of, ladies and gentlemen, because putting him in that position not only puts the people he's going, it gives him legitimacy. It gives him that sort of title. Oh, wow, that's the head of NHS. But in reality, all it did was he just put a fucking idiot at the top. Trump, I really, if there's another pandemic, never mind. I won't say that. I hope they live a long, well, maybe not a long. I hope they live a life. They live a life that is lived, I don't know if well, I wouldn't really apply well to it. I could care less if it's lived well or not.
speak out.
Bobby's cousin Caroline is President John F. Kennedy's daughter. She wrote a letter to key senators.
I talked to Caroline. She showed me.
How hard must this be, by the way, for all of the Kennedys? How hard must this be to see their amazing history inside of politics just be tarnished like this? I mean, I guess all the greats have to fall eventually, but I'll still remember a lot of JFK's legacy. I don't think RFK, even if he brought about the second pandemic, you know, if he brought about COVID-20, I still don't think JFK's legacy could be tarnished, because that man did a lot. So, but for all of the, you know, for all of the rest of the legacy, it's going to be hard to outshine how much bad RFK Jr. is doing. It's going to be hard.
The letter, and I said, look, I think you should send it, because if there's any chance of, you know, derailing the nomination, we have to do our best.
Overseeing the FDA, the NRA.
God, and that would just be so hard. Be so hard for them. Like, you know you're doing the right thing. You know in your heart of hearts you're doing the right thing, but you still have to make a video denouncing a family member, saying they don't deserve that position. It's hard. I couldn't put myself in their position.
NIH, the CDC, and Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, agencies that are charged with protecting the most vulnerable among us, is an enormous responsibility, and one that Bobby is unqualified to fill.
Caroline's letter was the real shocker. If you listen to his cousin Caroline, there was a cruel side to him.
I've known Bobby my whole life. We grew up together. It's no surprise that he keeps birds of prey as pets. Because
Whoa! I never heard this. God, this has got to be one that replays in his head, right? This has got to be one of them.
Himself is a predator. His basement, his garage, his dorm room were always the center of the action, where drugs were available, and he enjoyed showing off how he put baby chickens and mice in a blender to feed to his hawks.
Fuck! What the fuck? Fed him to his hawks? Oh my god, the fucking nasty side of owning a fucking hawk, ladies and gentlemen.
It was often a perverse scene of despair and violence. Siblings and cousins who Bobby encouraged down the path of substance abuse suffered addiction, illness, and death, while Bobby has gone on to misrepresent.
Forgot I have to put this at, I mean, we're probably okay since they didn't, but just in case.
Lie and cheat his way through life.
Confirmation hearings are happening today. RFK Jr. for HHS Secretary. The question is, will lawmakers actually listen to Caroline Kennedy?
In addition to Caroline Kennedy's attack, the Democrats on the committee joined in.
He has made it his life's work to sow doubt and discourage parents from getting their kids life-saving vaccines.
Your voice would be a voice that parents would listen to. That is so dangerous. I will be voting against your nomination because your views are dangerous to our state and to our country.
When was it that you decided to sell out the values you had your whole life in order to be given power by President Trump?
Whoa, that's a powerful question.
One thing that I've been struck by in my interviews with him over the years, there's kind of this like latent, kind of seething anger to him. And I saw some of that in the hearings, you know, especially when he was questioned by the Democratic senators.
Senator, 91,000 employees.
So that, I take that as that's a simple yes. I'm going to take that as a no. I take that as a no.
I was struck by the demeanor that he showed toward senators. He was not afraid to take on senators and to berate them.
National TV, you know about this, Senator Wyden, so bringing this up right now is dishonest.
Let's be clear about what you
kind of shows you that this is not.
Senator Wyden's kind of, you guys miss, I wasn't streaming during the time, but he put out a Epstein video about how he's got an investigation going on. It's very interesting. You guys, we might do a look into that someday about what that brought up.
Not your ordinary cabinet secretary. someone who feels himself to be equal to these senators. He's there calling Bernie Sanders Bernie instead of Senator.
And by the way, Bernie, almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, no,
and protecting their interests.
It was hard to watch hour upon hour of just this
God, he's just a liar.
vomiting upon Bobby, and it didn't matter what he said. You're watching someone
Oh my God, it didn't matter what he said.
that is now having to navigate politics and handle very difficult questions.
That's not the question. You have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me.
The Democrats look mean, angry, spiteful. It was like watching one of your best friends try to fight with both of his hands tied behind his back. But I thought he did a brilliant job under those circumstances.
Despite years of railing against vaccines, he tried to reassure senators that he wouldn't do away with them once in power.
I support the measles vaccine. I support the polio vaccine. I will do nothing as HHS secretary that makes it difficult or discourages people from taking either of those vaccines.
It was pretty obvious that he was trying to hide who he was, and it was unclear if the senators voting on his confirmation believed him or just didn't care to look into it any more deeply.
The question occurs on the Kennedy nomination.
The worm was chilling
Clerk,
in his
call the
eye
roll.
that day.
Senators voting in the affirmative.
Oh,
Bozeman, Cornyn, Crapo, Graham.
How can
He's
he
obviously
just go
somebody who
back
revels
to
in his
that
power,
face?
who believes he deserves
dude,
power,
there's something wrong
who
with
believes
this
that he
man.
could have been president, should have been president, who believes he can run an American healthcare system.
On this vote, the yeas are 52, the nays are 48. Confirmation is confirmed.
That was the Senate confirming Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Not a single Democrat voted for Kennedy.
Kennedy was quickly sworn in. He will now preside over a $1.7 trillion budget.
I think it was the ultimate redemption for all the struggles that he has gone through in his career and all the attacks. It was the ultimate redemption.
It is a token of just how extraordinary the times we're living in are. That a figure who's, so fundamentally at odds with science, with evidence, with truth, ends up in the position of power, which is built completely on all of those things. What's a Department of Health if it's not a Department of Evidence, if it's not a Department of Science, if it's not a Department of trying to match rational means to rational ends? All the things that he has denied, he's sort of ended up in charge of.
As my father once said, progress is a nice word, but change is a motivator. And change has its enemies. RFK Jr., September 2025.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is now the nation's Secretary of Health and Human Services officially.
The MAHA movement has begun. As the new HHS secretary says, the future of public health is about to change forever.
He perceives the agencies that he is running as the enemy, as corrupt, and in need of being dismantled.
Whether it's CDC, NIH, FDA, throughout COVID, they all lied.
Look at what CDC and NIH's and FDA's behavior during COVID. These are industries that are not doing public health. They are doing pharmaceutical profit promotion.
Mr. Kennedy was in direct control of agencies that he had been saying for years were criminal organizations captured by Big Pharma.
The CDC vaccine branch is really a subsidiary of the vaccine industry.
We're supposed to be taking care of our kids, and we're letting these industries corrupt our agencies and mass poison them.
He said openly that American government employees were poisoning the American public. Now that he's reached this ascent of power, it's time for him to deliver.
And now it's his turn to dump the worm eggs into the water supply. Has anybody checked this guy's been near any water wells or anything? Like, we gotta have a lock on him, for real. I'm not even joking. You can see the worm in his eyes right there.
Kennedy comes in, and it's literally like one big Trump apprentice show, like, you're fired. Everybody's fired.
Growing lines of confusion. Employees turned away, told they no longer had jobs.
Cutting 20,000 people from the department, a quarter of its workforce.
If any CEO comes into a company, you expect they're going to immediately start doing interviews and weed out who has moved this company in the wrong direction. If you find scientists that were willing to compromise the truth, you've got to cut that out.
Among those fired, top doctors, researchers, and disease
But what
trackers.
does compromising the truth mean, right? See, compromising the truth to RFK is not agreeing with his narrative. A competent leader of the NHS would put aside his political agenda when it comes to the risk of public health. But this is no ordinary man. This is worm man action. We needed like a little outfit for him, like a superhero outfit, Worm Man, you know? We got fucking 3 more years of his ass, so.
So layoffs are hitting everywhere, from the FDA to CDC and National Institutes of Health.
CDC and FDA were looked at, as well as NIH, as essentially the jewels in the world's crown of public health agencies. And now, what are they? They're shadows of their former selves.
Dr. Peter Marks, that architect of Trump's Project Warp Speed, was a high-profile casualty of those early cuts.
Peter Marks abruptly resigning, saying that RFK Jr. is posing a danger to the public.
Marks expressed concerns about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s lack of confidence in vaccines.
He's pushing back against people who've told him he's a fraud and a crank and endangering people's lives. There's certainly an element of revenge that you can see in his actions as the secretary.
It's very hard to see what was built over my 13 years at FDA and during my 9 years as Senate Director essentially destroyed or largely destroyed. So it's very sad to me where it's gone.
It was chilling when
That is just so fucking sad. This is a man of public servitude right here. You can tell. And he knows where it's heading.
Marks was pushed out. That was probably the first signal. I was like, okay, so yeah, they're coming for vaccine policy, they're coming for COVID vaccines, they're coming for the science-based recommendations.
He quickly took aim at the CDC's panel of experts that recommends vaccination policy, ACIP, ACIP.
There were 17 members of this panel. Kennedy fires them all. One fell swoop, 2 weeks before their scheduled meeting.
For those of us that believe that the regulatory agencies have been committing fraud, removing the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices was one of the greatest moves that has ever taken place.
Wow.
And then
that's fucking genius.
they announced the people who were coming.
No, I'm not gonna touch the measles. I'm not gonna touch the COVID. I'm not gonna touch. Shut up. What is dismantling the Board of Immunization Practices doing? Give me a fucking break. That's exactly what you're doing. Don't bullshit our senators elected by the people, okay? Just fucking be straight with me, Doc.
On, and those folks have a lot of baggage around vaccines and have been outspoken about their opposition of vaccines.
Dr. Havers was scheduled to deliver a presentation to the committee.
I did not want to participate in what he was turning into a sham process. They're clearly not doing this in good faith anymore. They're not playing by the rules. They're not using gold standard science. They're not using evidence. I didn't feel like I could sort of legitimize this committee by presenting to them and presenting the data to them. And for like my own personal integrity, that was the moment I was like, I'm out. I just couldn't participate any longer in what he'd made a complete sham.
But Kennedy's supporters liked the direction he was going.
Sad to say, but if you're a real American, you can't, and you don't want other Americans to get hurt, you have to leave. You have to leave and start an advocacy group or something, because if you stay, you're permanently putting your name on whatever RFK puts out. It's heartbreaking to say, but you should probably leave.
Like, finally, we were going to be able to have science take a priority over public policy and public health. It felt like there was going to be a real push to be able to stop a lot of the corporate capture of our federal regulatory agencies.
Good morning, everybody. And
this is somebody who says a lot of words. Corporate capture of our regulatory agencies. You know what that means? We want to stop money in politics. That's all you need to say. It felt like there wasn't going to be money in politics anymore. Corporate capture inside of legislative agencies? Fuck you.
welcome back to the...
Lynn Redwood became Kennedy's special advisor and addressed the committee.
The next presenter is Lynn Redwood, so please.
Thank you, Martin.
For those of us that know his story, it was a historic moment to see Lynn Redwood get up and present at the ACIP meeting.
The use of thimerosal in over-the-counter products is not generally recognized as safe or effective.
Lynn Redwood came in and presented data on thimerosal, which was frankly science that had been debunked.
Removing a known neurotoxin is a good place to start with making America healthy again.
Kennedy's committee voted to ban thimerosal.
The secretary has signed off on a ban on thimerosal.
A major move banning a mercury-based preservative from all vaccines.
It's fucking crazy, guys. Thimerosal hasn't been used in years.
To see him remove that had to be...
It's not been used in years. No vaccines are using it. No vaccines are using thimerosal right now. What are we doing?
The cathartic moment. Robert Kennedy Jr. had essentially destroyed his career by getting into a conversation about mercury in vaccines. The Rolling Stone article being retracted. This is what drove him into his investigation of vaccines.
He's already gutted a vaccine advisory committee, he's cut billions to state health agencies, and canceled an ad campaign for the flu shot.
He's the same person he's been for the last 20 years.
Dude put out a candle when he had to for it. When in these guys' world, that's like not even anything. It's
I think he's a man on a mission.
Great.
Dr. Paul Offit, who served as a vaccine advisor to the FDA, was also pushed out.
His mission is to eliminate chronic diseases, and he believes that the best way to do that is to make vaccines less available, less affordable, and more feared. And if he had an opportunity, he would eliminate vaccines.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced he's shutting down nearly $500 million in mRNA research.
mRNA shots were first used during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Fucking idiot.
Then, a crisis.
Atlanta 911, what is the location of your emergency?
Across the street from the CDC, there's an active shooter. Oh my God.
I was on the 5th floor of Building 16 when we started hearing the sound of the bullets. It was very loud, and it was very repetitive, and so many of us thought that this was a jackhammer. And then the tornado siren went off over at Emory. That indicated to us that this was real. These are shots hitting the building, and then there was just glass all over the place.
Another U.S. shooting, this time outside the CDC headquarters in Atlanta.
The gunman fired more than 500 shots, striking buildings on the CDC campus nearly 200 times. When it was all over, the gunman and 33-year-old Officer David Rose were both dead.
Chilling new details about the suspect. He blamed the COVID-19 vaccine for making him depressed and suicidal.
The suspect blamed the CDC for an illness that he possibly had.
When I saw that it was due to COVID misinformation, I was very angry.
Of course it was. This is one of fucking RFK's fucking an officer, somebody who serviced his community had to fucking die. This is the issue with misinformation, you know? These are the effects. This is why I started my stream. One of them. This right here. Like, misinformation is so prevalent, and it leads to these warped views of reality. What are you gonna do shooting your gun at the CDC? What are you gonna do? The bullets didn't even break through the bulletproof glass. Dwee. I'm a fucking idiot. That's what that motherfucker said.
That because of misinformation that was out there, it resulted in harm to Officer Rose and long-time trauma for my staff.
Dr. Deborah Oury was the highest-ranking scientist at the CDC.
They truly felt targeted because they were CDC and the work that's being done. Some of our staff who work on vaccine science or other high-profile topics don't want to present publicly right now and don't want their names on papers. They're concerned about their own personal safety because of this, and it's been propelled by misinformation.
The shots are, I think, only metaphorical for the shots that we've had flung at us for the last 5 years. All of the dehumanization of the public health workforce that has happened, with Secretary Kennedy being one of the dehumanizers, I think has created the environment where such violence is tolerated.
The Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Only these
visited
conspiracy theorists knew how boring government actually is. You know what I mean? It's boring, but it's important. Lots of things in life are boring but fucking important. And unfortunately for these conspiracy theorists, it's not really, it doesn't matter. It's way more interesting to believe that it's run by a cabal of blood-drinking pedophiles who inject you with vaccines that track your every move. You know, like, this is crazy shit.
the CDC headquarters. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who criticized the vaccine and the CDC in the past.
That was the first time he'd been to CDC. And it was a fairly brief visit. I actually did tour the facility with Secretary Kennedy. That was the only time I'd ever met him. And he seemed, really surprised by the extent of the damage. Each bullet or each shattered glass. That was meant for a person. That was meant for one of our staff.
The staff were deeply concerned that we had a secretary that had been demeaning the agency, and they were calling for him to make statements against that, to really correct the record, indicate that vaccines are safe.
I come from a family that lost 2 of its members to political violence, and it's always wrong.
So what is the plan to sort of quell disinformation, misinformation, so that something like this doesn't happen again?
Well, you know, I would not say that we don't know enough about what the motive was of this individual. But people...
What? Imagine that's your boss talking like that after your place just got shot up. What a evil individual.
Ask questions.
In light of what he had just seen, I was very disappointed. I was hoping that he would defend the agency, and that didn't happen.
I'm sure he would say, why is it his responsibility that some guy showed up with a gun at the CDC? Kennedy's often able to kind of play this role of like hyping people up and then kind of distancing himself from the impact.
Deepening the crisis for Kennedy, his new CDC director, Susan Monarez, contradicted him, blaming misinformation for the shooting.
The dangers of misinformation and its promulgation has now led to deadly consequences.
It was important for the staff to hear that, but also it's a statement of fact.
By the way, if I didn't say that, rest in peace.
That's what happened. So in that sense, the staff were pleased to see that coming from the director.
I think that public statement is a very dangerous statement.
All because of fucking... You know, if we really want to get down to the brass tacks of where all this political violence... It's the social media companies. They need to start batting down on lies. They need to start... You know, there needs to be a regulatory agency, I think, over social media. Like their own regulatory agency, so stuff like this just doesn't happen. Because, yeah, this is just... You know, we need stuff like... I think you would see... If we had a regulatory agency over things like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube even. If we had a regulatory body over that, that, you know, they had to show how the algorithms came about, I think we would see a lot less. But, you know, I'm honestly more for mental health advocacy when it comes to this stuff. Because a regulatory body would be a lot, but all you need for mental health outreach is just a reformed medical system. Right? It's like, choose your battle. Choose your battle. Do you want a regulatory body that is going to be fought tooth and nail by the Republicans, or do you want to try to make a healthcare system that's going to be fought tooth and nails by the Republicans? Choose your poison.
I think it's dangerous when we attribute why things are happening. That's an opinion that fuels rage in a lot of hearts and minds. When you start seeing scientists making opinions that are going to affect millions of people's attitudes and lives without...
When did they start becoming opinions? When they disagreed with you? That's interesting.
Scientific evidence, I think that's a problem.
The shooting inflamed tensions between Kennedy and Monarez. In a meeting, he demanded she fire top staff and commit to support his vaccine agenda.
Susan called me right after, was very upset. She told the secretary she also stood behind like data and science, and she couldn't rubber stamp recommendations. She couldn't agree to sign off on vaccine recommendations before she had seen it.
Tumult at the CDC as the Department of Health and Human Services announces the director of the CDC is out.
Susan Monarez was at odds with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over his COVID vaccine policies.
I mean, who's in charge, right? In this case, Robert Kennedy Jr. is in charge. And he's trying to triage the worst health situation this country has ever found itself in.
Dude,
you don't have time to have disagreement around it. Get someone in here that agrees with where we're going, and let's do this.
Monarez, a staunch supporter of vaccines, and her ouster comes as Kennedy, a vaccine skeptic, moves to reshape the government's approach.
For many of the CDC's top scientists, it was the last straw.
With her removal, I think was what brought the other 2 doctors and myself to resign.
I told her that the second she left, I was gone.
I saw all of the scientific endeavor starting to become like weaponized into an ideology machine, and I had to leave.
I see the reality-based community trying to alert the public that there's something fantastical and crazy going on inside that world.
The direction that the country's public health is going is not one that is evidence-based or science-based.
America's public health is significantly in danger, and Dimitri, Dan, and I chose to leave together to send that bat signal.
For Bobby Kennedy Jr., it's probably just evidence that he's
tried
right.
so hard, and God, I can't imagine. I hope they are willing to come back. But they're probably going to want to make sure that this type of shit never happens. No politicalization. Maybe moving forward, I don't know, the head of the NHS is going to have to be not just approved by Congress, but also, I don't know, There's going to have to be some sort of oversight, because the way it's sounding, it just sounds like RFK is willing to do whatever he wants. He can do whatever he wants. He can fire whoever he wants. He can pressure whoever he wants. And that's just too much power. But that's something we're finding out with the entire Trump admin, really, is that we're going to need oversight for the next president. He's going to need to put up barriers that he knows are impossible for him to cross. That's the difficult thing, right? He's going to have to build the big wall that he's trapping himself in. But there's a reason. It's because with great power comes great responsibility, and unfortunately some people aren't responsible. So
That's what he's been saying for the last 20 years every time somebody resisted him. You know, it was just like more evidence that I must be on the right path.
You know, the CDC is an agency that is very troubled, and it's going to require getting rid of some people over the long term in order for us to change the institutional culture.
He's able to continually spin it. You know, I have found people who aren't towing the line who are your enemy, and I'm getting rid of them, or they're leaving. He's constantly able to spin it that way.
There's really a deeply, deeply embedded, I would say, malaise at the agency, and we need to fix it, and we are fixing it.
CDC is in a bad place. It's a very specific and important agency for the U.S. And right now, it's coding in the ICU. It's on life support. It may not make it.
If he continues in the current approach, it will make decisions to get vaccinated more difficult. As you see an erosion of people's trust, you'll see the numbers of people getting vaccinated going down, and you'll start to see the numbers of illnesses coming back up. And that is an awful thing to think about in a country that has put so much into protecting Americans with vaccines so far.
With changes to vaccine policy fueling the turmoil at the CDC, confusion over how and where Americans will get the new COVID vaccine.
We've had quite a few number of measles cases this year, and it's just one more vaccine that isn't available.
He's turning the world upside down to make himself right, and to prove that he was right all along, to prove that this power and this destiny that he had to be here where he is was always correct, and that you all were wrong and I was right. You didn't believe in me, but now look.
Potentially more confusion following new recommendations from the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Panel.
The panel voted to no longer recommend the MMRV vaccine for kids under the age of 4.
If you disrupt and dismantle vaccination programs, people will die. It's just an absolute reality. Is he so used now to kind of compartmentalizing what he says and what the consequences might be as two completely different things that he doesn't see that connection anymore between the way he uses power and what effect that's going to have, which will be matters of life and death for millions and millions and millions of people in America and around the world.
Trump and RFK Jr. linking autism to Tylenol without any new evidence. 6 former surgeons general sounding the alarm on Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The group says science and expertise has taken a backseat to ideology and misinformation.
The end, ladies and gentlemen. Please go support Frontline PBS. Go support your local PBS station. They're an absolutely valuable tool that Trump wants to dismantle, but I still think they're important. Millions of Americans still think they're important. And if you enjoyed that documentary, that is a absolute example of that. But we're going to move on from that. RFK, piece of shit. Hope the brainworm chews through his brain so he can just be demented and not, actually I'm going to put this down here. We might get to that, but probably not. So I saw this, this little press briefing, I guess. I kind of want to get into, I was going to watch this press briefing here, but, we're hunting them down. Famous Baghdadi quote, and I love a quotable Trump line. But anyways, guys, if you guys are enjoying the content and you want to see more of this content, please consider subscribing and sharing, liking the stream. It really helps out the channel. Lets me know what I'm doing here is enjoyable for you guys, and really, really encourages me to do more. I'll be having edited segments coming out here soon. Shout out to my editor Lily, #1 editor there. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff coming down, a lot of good content coming down the way, and I'm excited for you guys to see it. Anyways, Trump, Bondi, Noam, Hegseth, they're launching a war on the cartels. Let's see it.
Of the United States.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please.
He's got the gold tie today. He was feeling the gold. Unbutton that suit there. You gotta let it hang. You gotta let the fupa hang.
Oh, it's a great honor to have all my friends here. It's like old home week. What a job you're doing. And thank you very much for that. We want to begin by thanking the people that have done such a great job at the White House. They have been doing really incredible work during a shutdown. I don't even know if they're supposed to be working, but they wouldn't miss a day. So I just want to thank everybody for that very much. And we're here today to discuss a sweeping, unprecedented, and historically successful operation that my administration has carried out in recent weeks to arrest, prosecute, and permanently remove members of foreign drug cartels from American soil. And the people gathered around this table are the ones
These deportations. I'm so excited to see his fake numbers.
that are doing it, and in this room. Some of them sitting a little behind. In fact, some of them I'm surprised they're not actually at the table. You people should be very insulted by that. But you've done a great job back there. On my first day in office earlier this year, I signed an executive order to officially designate the drug cartels and savage transnational gangs as foreign terrorist organizations. It was my honor to do so.
Hold on. Didn't he already do this? Am I tripping? He already did this, right? Like, when is this from? This is October 23rd, 2025. Didn't he already do this?
And on that same day, I also signed an order directing. It's just getting started. We have incredible people. A lot of them are in this career criminals, many of them given to us by Joe Biden. And
Okay. Yeah, this just seems like a shtick. We already kind of knew this, so this just kind of seems like to fall on deaf ears. Like, brother.
Is ridiculous. Open.
So now it's a full-scale war? Now it's a double time? Yeah, I don't know. Listening to Trump's shtick gets old, you know what I mean? Much like him. So I think we're gonna shelf that. I'm not really feeling it. But luckily, guys, we've got Caroline Levitt to talk about Trump's Asia tour. Guys, get excited. Your taxpayer money is paying for President Donald Trump's tour of Asia. He's gonna see the hottest spots. Like, talk about fucking tone deaf. I know, right, Flamars? Like, the fucking Asian. This is, I call this little move the Asian pivot. You know, he's gonna be busting that on G's dance floor. Thank you, Ed Spots. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for my tardiness today, so let's get right to it. We'll begin today with some scheduling announcements for President Trump's upcoming trip to Asia. Tomorrow night at 11 p.m.
Dude, this is almost, I don't know. What's more tone deaf? Him announcing a trip across the world while the government is shut down, or him building a ballroom out of the east wing of the White House? Which one screams less to you? I honestly don't know which one is more tone deaf.
The president will depart the White
Yeah, I want to go on a fucking trip across Asia. Jesus.
House to fly to Malaysia, where he will arrive on Sunday morning local time. It's a long flight. President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Malaysia in the afternoon, and then he will attend the ASEAN Leaders Working Dinner.
What is this outfit, by the way? Did your mom knit this, Caroline? Oh, wow. Is she transcoding right now? This is her secret message to the trans out there. I'm with you, sisters and brothers and everything in between. No, I don't think so.
That evening. On Monday morning local time, the president will fly to Tokyo.
Sorry, I'm just outlining. Like, this is such a weird sweater. It's very
Tuesday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the new Prime Minister of Japan. On Wednesday morning local time, the president will fly to Busan, where he will participate in a bilateral meeting with the President of the Republic. Tuesday morning local time, the president will fly to Busan, where he will participate.
Did he just say Busan? I believe it's Bhutan, right? Is there a country called Busan that I don't know in it? Busan. Oh. Oh. Well, I guess I was wrong. It's the metropolitan city of South Korea. Huh. Well, interesting. Good job, Caroline. Look, she's looking smug. I fucked up. Okay. You get this one. Yeah, it's in Korea, Flamaris.
In a bilateral meeting with the President of the Republic of Korea, deliver keynote remarks at the APEC CEO luncheon, and then participate in a U.S. APEC leaders working dinner. On Thursday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with President Xi of the People's Republic of China before departing to return home to Washington, D.C. On Thursday night, upon arrival in Washington, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump will participate in Halloween at the White House, where they will welcome law enforcement, military, and foster families. And I know many of us look.
Wow. Thank you. Oh, you're going to have a Halloween party while the government's shut down? Oh, that's so cool. It's like lock-in night at your local high school.
Look forward to that. In other news, we are now on day 23 of the Democrat government shutdown. Senate Democrats have voted 12 separate times now to keep the government closed. Innocent Americans are suffering every day as a result. More than 500,000 civilian federal employees will miss a full paycheck tomorrow. Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month. This means almost $4 billion in capital is being withheld from small businesses across the country. The Democrat shutdown is also causing severe impacts at airports across the country. In one single day this week, the FAA had to issue ground stops impacting flights at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport.
Yeah, it's like Transmaga. Those are a thing, unfortunately. Unfortunately, though, those people exist. It breaks my heart, you know. Being part of the LGBT myself, it's kind of like, ew, what are you doing? But, yeah, traitors. Anyways, something I wanted to comment on here. One moment.
Single day this week, the FAA had to issue ground stops.
Oh, yes. See, it would be... The government shutdown would be over if the Republicans wanted... If they wanted it to be over, they could just pass it with the nuclear option. But they want this bub bill to look bipartisan, so they're going to try their goddamnedest to make it look bipartisan, even though nothing in that bill is signed by a Democrat. Not one thing. Not one thing. Do you not think the Democrats should get a vote? Do you think the Democrats should get anything for their vote? Do you think that their constituents should get anything? Oh, no? Well, I guess you don't believe in fucking democracy then, dude. Because democracy is all about compromise. It's all about listening to the other side, understanding, and coming to a common consensus. That's why it was so fucking cool back in the day. But it still is fucking cool, but these people don't understand it. And so when you're trying to pass an ugly bill that's going to hurt millions of Americans, can we at least get something for the millions of lives you're willing to sacrifice?
Impacting flights at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport and Hobby Airport. 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that we all fly safely are continuing to work without pay. This is egregious and truly sad. Some of them are reportedly being forced to turn to driving for Uber and taking on other second jobs to make ends meet as the Democrats continue to...
What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do right now? I ask you. Like, are we supposed to just sit idly by and watch millions of Americans lose their health insurance? Fuck no. And I am so proud of the Democrats for keeping the position they've had. None of them are breaking rank. They are in this till the end, and I am proud as hell of them. Keep it up. You know, Hakeem, he's doing his thing. Chuck, he's been out of the limelight mostly, but that's because he's probably in the Senate fucking battling it out with the Republicans, talking, you know what? Fuck no. We're not opening this government until you give us something. And that's something else the Republicans aren't willing to do. They're not willing to give anything. You know, they complain about adding $1 trillion with the ACH subsidies. Their bub bill adds $4 trillion, $3 trillion with conservative estimates to the public, to the deficit. What are we talking about here? They are hypocrites beyond repute, and it's hard. It's so hard to get them to see why we care. It's like, do they think most of these people coming off the ACA subsidies are just like lazy bums that don't do anything? No. Most of these people are working Americans who don't have access to a computer, and so they're going to fall by the wayside when it comes to the Medicaid cuts. Anyways, we've talked about this a lot, and we will continue to talk about it because it's such an important issue, but this government shutdown is all the Republicans' fault. This is all their fault. We knew a government shutdown was coming, and instead of meeting with us, Trump goes and fucks off in the Middle East. Now Trump gets to go and fuck off in Asia.
To shut down the government. Pilots are calling on Democrats to end this dangerous political game. The president of the Southwest Airlines Pilot Association called for the clean continuing resolution to be passed, saying, quote, our air traffic controllers and the broader air traffic system are already operating under immense pressure. A government shutdown only compounds that stress and threatens the efficiency of our skies. The Airline Pilots Association International, which represents more than 80,000 pilots, is sounding the alarm as well. They said this shutdown is undermining our system's safety. Resources are stretched thin, negotiations are delayed, and strain grows daily. With the Thanksgiving holiday approaching, we are nearing the busiest travel period of the entire year, when millions of Americans will go to airports to spend time with their loved ones. Let us be very clear from the White
Oh, one moment, I got a call, so I'm going to mute.
House today. If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season.
I just got a call, so I'm going to have to let this play out. But it might actually be the Democrats. I actually gave the Democrats a call today and was like, hey, you know, I started my stream and I would love to see some support or something. So I'm going to answer this, see if it's them. Go off, Caroline.
If Democrats continue to shut down the government, they will also be shutting down American air travel. The White House is in constant communication with the air traffic controllers, with the airline associations, and with them, we urge Democrats to please pass the continuing resolution so we can just end this madness and this chaos and reopen the government. These are very avoidable consequences. The unnecessary pain, unfortunately, does not end there. Funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP, which provides food benefits to low-income families, is beginning to lapse this week in some states. If Democrats continue to hold Americans hostage, there will not be enough funds to provide SNAP benefits for more than 40 million Americans on November 1st. That is next week. Democrats are solely responsible for all of this unnecessary pain. Why are they doing it? To give taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits to illegal aliens, some of whom are violent criminals. During the 4 years of Joe Biden's administration, the Democrats forced Border Patrol to admit illegal aliens into our country with no legal status and minimal screening.
Calls.
A significant
God, they are so bad. We need regulation on that. It seems like it was just a spam call or something. Who knows?
A number of these individuals are the worst of the worst criminals, rapists, pedophiles, murderers, and even members of the terrorist watch list. Despite having no legal status, paroled aliens were able to fight.
Oh, illegal aliens. My bad. I didn't realize we were this far in the quest in the dialogue tree. My bad.
For work authorization, receive social security numbers, and access other benefits like Medicaid that are meant for Americans. Since I've found many in this room to repeatedly deny the reality that Democrats gave Medicaid benefits to illegals, and they continue to seek to do just that, I brought a few verified examples for you today. These are examples of some of the illegals who received Medicaid benefits under President Biden's leadership, and this is what Democrats are wanting to do. This is why they are continuing to keep the government closed. An illegal alien from Laos was arrested for murder, robbery, and felony possession of a firearm. An illegal alien from Guatemala who was arrested for rape and burglary. An illegal alien from El Salvador who was arrested for strangulation, DUI, and burglary. An illegal alien from Mexico who was arrested for attempted murder.
And we're just going to take your word that they were all receiving benefits. Watch, I bet it is some state subsidized benefits that applies to everybody in the state can benefit from this. Watch. Yeah, this is just unknown numbers. They throw numbers out. And have you guys noticed they're still running with this this line, but it's just not sticking. The Republicans are not in control of the narrative right now, and it's insane. Usually they're in charge of it. No, they are trying to play catch up, and they're seeing how bad their tactics are when they're trying to play catch up. It's easy enough to run the ship when you're in charge. But when you are put on the back deck and you got to try to navigate the ship, well, that's a little harder. That's a little more tough. This is why I never trust unknown numbers, but I also isolate myself so no one would call me. Yeah.
The Democrats' open border policies allowed these threats into our country, and then they provided them with free health care. The president and Republicans, through the One Big Beautiful Bill, implemented a common sense reform to end this fraudulent scheme. But that's why the Democrats are continuing to shut down the federal government. They are trying to reverse this and restore taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens like these. Throughout this shutdown, Democrats have said this quiet part out loud. Senator Chuck Schumer, the leader of the caucus that is refusing to open the government, said, quote,
"Yeah, no problem. Don't leak my number out to everybody. It changes every fucking 3 months, so might as well, actually."
Every day gets better as the shutdown continues. Ask the air traffic controllers if every day is getting better, Senator Schumer, and they will tell you absolutely not.
No, that's not the full quote, ma'am.
Democrat Catherine Clark said, there are going to be families that are going to suffer.
Liar.
We take that
What a liar!
responsibility seriously, but this is one of the few leverage points that we have. Here is a House Democrat who is admitting that they are using Americans who are suffering as political leverage. And Senator Bernie Sanders said, if you reopen the government, we lose our leverage. This is pure partisan games. A senior Democrat aide said the party will not end the shutdown, quote, short of planes falling out of the sky. That is truly a disturbing statement. The Democrats clearly don't care about this suffering. They care about playing political games against President Trump, and this dangerous charade needs to end. The president,
Dude, Donald Trump is the king of political parades. What are you talking about? He's the only one who does political parades.
Republicans' position has been clear and unchanged. Pass a clean, nonpartisan funding bill to reopen the government. And then we can
Oh yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
talk about all of the partisan issues that the Democrats wish to. If you're watching at home, we urge you to call your Democrat senators and tell them to put our country over their party and reopen the government today. Here in our new media seat, we have Brittany Gibson of Axios. Brittany, why don't you start us off for our Q&A today? Thank you for being here.
Wow, Axios, an actual accredited journal. Well, I think Axios is good, right?
Two questions, if I may.
I don't get news stories from them, but
First is, we understand that the president and Republicans will not negotiate on ACA extensions until the government reopens. If and when that happens, what does the president think should be, or what are his plans for preventing rising healthcare costs for Americans?
It's a very good question, and I'll leave that to the president to negotiate that when Democrats
I have no fucking idea. I'm an idiot.
vote to reopen the government. When it comes to lowering healthcare costs, the president is deeply committed to this. It's why he has spent
God, she better be careful. She might be having some of what RFK had.
so much time and effort negotiating with Big Pharma to lower the healthcare costs of prescription drugs. All of you have been in the Oval Office for multiple different.
By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, please consider liking the stream and subscribing. It really helps out the channel, helps get my word out there, helps spread the Democrat message, which is what we try to do on this channel. We try to boost our Democrats up and talk about how cool our Democratic leaders are. So please consider giving a sub, sharing the stream, giving a like. It really, really helps out. Anyways, let's get back to Caroline Levitt.
Different announcements. We've had these most favored nations deals with these large pharmaceutical companies committing to lowering drug costs in this country. So it's something the president wants to do. And Brittany, one more point. I'll just point out the irony in Democrats holding the government and the American public hostage over a healthcare system that they created. The healthcare system was called Obamacare. Why? Because Democrats and President Obama implemented.
You keep that name out of your mouth. It's called the American Healthcare Act.
And Republicans have always said it's a broken system, yes, but they caused it, and now they want to shut down the government to fix it. We need to open the government, and then we can have these very important conversations.
Yep, we created this medical system. In fact, before Obamacare, did you guys know that it was common to just put poultice on your wounds and a salve and try to fight off infections like that? It wasn't until it was dramatic, right? It wasn't until the dramatic pause. It wasn't until the invention of Obamacare is when we got this system. I mean, give me a fucking break, Caroline.
About healthcare.
And the second, on H-1Bs and foreign students, during the campaign, President Trump said he wanted to make it easier for foreign students to work at U.S. companies, staple green card to every diploma. But the changes from several agencies now on H-1Bs are adding more obstacles to that. The administration is being sued over those changes. Can you explain the changes to the president's thinking on H-1Bs?
The administration will fight these lawsuits in court. The president's main priority has always been to put American workers first.
Oh, yeah, great. You know how Trumpers are always like, well, I just want more legal means of immigration. Look at this motherfucker getting rid of all our H1V1 visas. Fucking idiots.
And also to strengthen our visa system. We know for far too long the H-1B visa system has been spammed with fraud, basically, and that's driven down American wages. So the president wants to refine the system, which is part of the reason he implemented these new policies. These actions are lawful, they are necessary, and we'll continue to fight this battle in court. Garrett.
Two questions on different topics.
Sure.
On the pardon of Cheng.
Caroline Levitt. Carolyn Lying Levitt. Thank you, Flame Morris. That's true. She just does nothing but lie. And this is why I say straight to alligator Alcatraz with these people. LOL, my mom used to put politicians, poultices, my bad. I thought it said politicians. I was like, whoa, politicians on your cuts? That's a level of democratic fervor not even I have. But anyways, my mom used to put poultices on my cuts to draw out the poison when I was very young, even though we have free healthcare. Well, that just sounds more like a tradition, you know? But before Obamacare, that's what we all had to do. So I'm very familiar with the wound to poultice ratio.
Peng Zhao, apologies if I'm mispronouncing that name. Binance has significant business interests with World Liberty Financial, the president's family's crypto company. How do you respond to allegations from Democrats that this is a corrupt act?
I would respond and say the president is exercising his constitutional authority to grant clemency requests. And the president and the White House have a very thorough examination of every pardon request that comes to the president.
We all had to do that back in the day. It's bots. Yeah, it was just common. You know, it's a shame that kids these days will never know the joy of scraping up some poultice and slathering it on your open wound. They'll never know, unfortunately. That's what Obamacare did. It took away the independence of Americans. It took away the independence. Anyways, I gotta go do a checkup. It only costs $30. Oh, ACA? Yeah, I'm on ACA. What's up?
President's desk. It is thoroughly reviewed by the White House counsel office, and I spoke with our great White House counsel about the pardon after it happened. This was an overly prosecuted case by the Biden administration. Even the judge in the case admitted that the Biden administration was pursuing a egregious over-sentencing of this individual, and the previous administration was very hostile to the cryptocurrency industry. So the president wants to correct this.
Yeah, this president, he loves the cryptocurrency industry. He can't get enough of it, as a matter of fact. Did you hear about Trump coin?
Overreach of the Biden administration.
Buy it. I'm sure you'll get a dinner with the president someday.
Misjustice, and he exercised his constitutional authority to do so. And to the Democrats, I would just say there's nothing more corrupt than what President Biden did on his way out the door, pardoning his extremely corrupt son in many.
Oh, wow. Well, if that's corrupt, then what the hell is the January 6th corruption going on? You know, I hope there's a study someday that comes out that really looks at how many people that were pardoned on January 6th have committed violent crimes, because it's got to be a very large percentage. And I would love that statistic to throw at MAGA. Just say, oh, it was a peaceful protest. Then why did like over 30% of them, I think this is an actual, why did over 30% of them end up being pedos? Like, actually, it's every day you hear a Jan 6er gets busted for pedophilia. It's literally every day.
Many of his associates.
On the ballroom, the first of which will probably be several questions about this today, I imagine.
Is it a big story?
It seems that way. The president's cost estimate has
Is it a big story? I just destroyed half of the White House. Is that a big story?
changed several times. I think it's up to $300 million now. Given the nature of all this, will the White House commit to releasing all of the donors and how much they're spending and how much of his own money the president is putting on the line to this?
We have released the full list of donors thus far. Perhaps there will be more people who want to generously contribute to this project. And the president, yes, has committed his own resources. And when he...
Well, apparently not, Caroline, because a reporter couldn't fucking find it. So you might want to publish that in somewhere that is accessible to the public.
He releases that information, which I'm very confident he will. You will all see that.
We'll see a dollar figure from the president?
Yes, he will. And I would also just add, the president has been incredibly transparent. I would reject any notion otherwise when it comes to this ballroom project. It's something he personally has obviously taken an interest into and has talked with all of you in this room.
Yeah, no shit. This is the let them eat cake moment, if I've ever seen one in American politics. The ballroom, the gaudy ballroom, is the let them eat cake moment.
Any times about, you have seen the model in the Oval Office. Last night he showed that for you, but when this plan was presented and when these renderings, as soon as they were complete, the president directed me to come out here and to share them with all of you. I did an entire opening remarks about what this ballroom project was going to look like. With any construction project, there are changes to look like, and we'll continue to keep you apprised of all of those changes, but just trust the process. This is going to be a magnificent addition to the White House for many years to come, and it's not costing the taxpayers anything. The president is privately funding this ballroom addition to the White House grounds. Jennifer.
To follow up on that, one thing that's not in the president's model is the East Wing bunker, the President's Emergency Operations Center. Can you say if his update, that $300 million, does that include the cost for upgrading that bunker?
Look, like any security enhancements that are made on the White House grounds, those will be made and maintained by United States Secret Service. As for that...
Oh, no, that's taxpayer money. No, that's taxpayer money. Yeah.
Cost of the ballroom and the construction itself, all of that is going to be, like I've said, privately funded and paid for by the president himself and many generous patriots who have stepped up.
In that funding, correct. Okay, and then can you say, well, that's right, I'll skip that one. Thanks.
We just... Okay.
So the White House has explained that the reason you didn't submit construction plans to the NCPC is because that commission, along with others, don't have oversight over demolitions, but only over construction. And so far, you haven't built anything. So can you help us understand, can the president tear down anything he wants?
That's not a Trumpian fucking excuse. I don't know what.
Without oversight, could he demolish this building or, say, the Jefferson Memorial?
So it's not the president who came up with that legal opinion himself. That's a legal opinion that's been held by the NCPC for many years. It's written, so we can get you that background and that research if you wish to include it in your reporting because it is very important.
We just build things here. We don't destroy them. We just build them. How stupid. How much of a fucking child are you? Oh, it says right here you're in charge of construction. As in constructing something. I don't think you're constructing anything when you destroy it. You're wrong. Like, holy shit.
They have ruled consistently, their general counsel has said, when it comes to phase 1 of this project, the tearing down of the current East Wing structure, a submission is not required legally for that. Only for vertical construction will a submission be required, and that's a legal opinion from them, and we are following that legal opinion. And
they are really stretching a legal definition far. So they can only do buildings going up. They can't, they only build in one dimension. They have to get another crew to get the width.
Again, I would just add, can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex. This briefing room, as you all know, was not once a briefing room. It was a swimming pool. There have been presidents...
Yeah, LBJ used to put... That's where LBJ used to put his hog.
Presidents who have completely torn down the executive mansion. If you look at what President Truman did, as some of the photos of the construction project that took place in those years, I think sitting here today, we're all grateful for those efforts and the modifications that happened at that time. And again, in due time, the East Wing is going to be more beautiful and modern than ever before. And in addition, there will be a big, beautiful ballroom that can hold big parties and state visits for generations to come.
So it sounds like the answer is
yeah,
yes.
Imagine the cost of a 3-dimensional building. That, you know, the Republicans would lose their minds.
Yeah, whatever he wants. And then secondly, I mean...
That's not what we're saying. That's a legal opinion that's been held for many years. No, it's something that presidents have done for years and years. In fact, I have some photos here. Thank you, Pat. To show
I have
you
some photos here. Look. They've made construction. Look, guys. Like, how fucking childish are you? Oh, they did it in the past. This is obviously a lot different. Now, I gotta be honest. I don't care. I don't. I think it's probably definitely a form of fraud. Like, it's probably having public funds funneled somehow, but I don't care. I'm more concerned about healthcare right now and how my fellow American is going to pay. So if you want to construct a gaudy ballroom with gold inlays and all that, go ahead, Trump. I mean, you know, but could you please sit down with us Democrats and have an actual conversation that isn't just you fucking getting distracted by your McDonald's wrapper every 5 minutes?
That's taken place on the White House grounds. This is the construction of the West Wing in 1902. Look at this, the construction of the West Terrace in 1902. These images look quite similar to what you and the American people are seeing today, the construction of the East Terrace as well. You look at the construction of the West Wing expansion in 1934. So look, this is a legal opinion that's been held for many years. Look at this is 1950. It looks a lot like what you're seeing.
Look, can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think that rubble is? How did that rubble get there?
Right, so I'm asking, and then back to the donor.
Go ahead,
many of them are...
Oh my God, Caroline, do you know how to answer a question? It's a legal opinion, but you're not. How are you? Oh, geez. Hold on. I got to switch over headphones. Go off, Caroline.
One on immigration and another on Venezuela. It's being reported that the semi-truck driver suspected of killing 3 people in a DUI crash is an illegal immigrant who came in under the Biden administration. Do you know if California gave him a commercial driver's license? And then it also appears that California largely has not been cooperating with English proficiency standards. I'm wondering if the administration has any further plans to punish the state.
Yes, I can confirm that California gave this individual already looked into. I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions. As for this case in California, on October 22nd, ICE lodged an immigration detainer for this individual following his arrest by local authorities in California on charges, as you know, of manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence. He killed 3 people, and he first entered the United States in 2022.
The Republicans are the party of one thing happens, so they all have to make a huge hysteria, even though like all the other examples don't line up with it. It's the one example though. That's what's so fucking exactly, bruh. Singular case, whole state suffered. Exactly. Pasta is exactly on it. You know, they will highlight the most obscure fringe cases, and you know that because do you guys remember back in the 23, 24 culture wars? When they tried to say trans people were going into people's bathrooms, right? But they couldn't find an example. There was 0 examples of that. But they kept saying it even then. So even when they don't have something that will fit their narrative, they'll just lie. These people are beyond. It's just, how can you be so disingenuous and scummy? I mean, you gotta be a certain type of piece of shit to look the American people in the eye and say a total lie. I mean, it's gotta be, you know, her conscience is definitely staying up at night, but maybe it's not. Maybe they just sleep fine.
Through the southern border, and he was released into our country by the previous administration. So now ICE has lodged a separate detainer for this individual, and these tragedies are following a disturbing pattern of these criminal illegal aliens being issued commercial vehicle licenses. And so yes, the Department of Transportation is absolutely cracking down on that. I defer you to them for any specifics.
Venezuela, President Trump has said...
Ma'am, I have a question. When the couple swerved off because they saw a possum and they all died, the entire car died, what are you going to do about the possum? What are you going to do about the possum population here? Like, okay, you know, I think it's sad, but like, I don't think that's representative of the entire possum population, okay? Stop discriminating against fucking possum. What did they do to you? Nothing. You're just being discriminatory because you don't like their tails. And that says more about you than it does about them.
Doesn't want to mess with the United States, and this administration is continuing to position more military assets towards Venezuela. I'm wondering if the end goal of this narco-terrorist war is to implement a regime change in Venezuela.
The president has spoken on that, Reagan, and I certainly won't get ahead of him. What we've made very clear is that this administration is not going to tolerate international narco-terrorist organizations from trafficking drugs into the United States. And these cartels over time have grown more armed, well-organized.
They've shown no evidence that these drug boats are connected to Venezuela. Which they very well might be. I know the Maduro regime is very repressive and very corrupt. But you don't bomb the boats. By the way, I'd be interested to see the number of drug deaths. It's last time I checked, when we bombed a boat, it still hadn't gone down. The number of drug deaths is still continued.
Violent. They have financial means, sophistication, and capabilities needed to operate in the way this administration has. And they have illegally caused the deaths of tens of thousands of American citizens each year. So that's where we are right now with respect to Venezuela, but also any country that is sending purposefully illegal narco-terrorists to the United States of America to bring illegal drugs. Why don't we go in the back?
The U.S. and Colombia relationship right now is at one of its lowest points in decades. We heard what President Gustavo Petro had to say about President Trump. We heard yesterday the response from President Trump. Is there any kind of compromises or gestures from the Colombian president that President Trump would like to see in order to de-escalate the tensions? Is it possible a de-escalation?
I don't think we're seeing de-escalation from the unhinged leader of Colombia right now, and I don't think the president, frankly, is interested in that at this point. He spoke on this yesterday, and I don't have anything to add to his comments. Go
Make
ahead.
up your mind. Venezuela or Colombia? You can't invade both. I mean, maybe you can, but starting a war on 2 fronts didn't end up well for anybody.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden
I'm going
patio,
to the back. Sorry. Go ahead.
in addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly, and so his heart and his mind is
He
always.
loves playing with the Lego sets. We get him. He loves it.
churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds, but at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority. Kristen.
Last week, President Trump announced that he had a productive call with Vladimir Putin. They scheduled a meeting in Hungary. Since then, he has canceled the meeting and he has imposed sanctions on Russian oil companies. Can you talk about what changed that led to this dramatic shift, or even just what occurred in the last week that got us from point A to point B?
Sure. Look, the president has always maintained that he would implement sanctions on Russia when he felt it was appropriate and necessary. And yesterday was that day. I think the president has also long expressed his...
Yesterday was finally the day. After 9 long months. People dying, people suffering. Finally, he has made the decision.
Frustration with Vladimir Putin and frankly both sides of this war. And he's always said in order to negotiate a good peace deal, both sides need to be interested in a good peace deal. And he feels as though, unfortunately, from the Russian side as of late, he has not seen enough interest and enough action in terms of moving the ball forward towards peace.
As of late, Caroline? Oh my God. These people are able to be fooled by the easiest tricks, people. Like, how would anybody with a brain would have seen Putin was playing Trump the moment, the moment the piss tape got exposed? But, you know, anybody could see that. But finally.
So a meeting between these two leaders is not completely off the table. I think the president and the entire administration hopes that one day that can happen again. But we want to make sure that there's a tangible, positive outcome out of that meeting and that it's a good use of the president's time. Of course, he's traveling to Asia next week. He has a number of events coming up here on the home front as well. He's been incredibly busy. As you all know, you're all tired from covering him and his movements every day. And so we want to make sure it's a good use of the president's time. And the president doesn't want to waste his time. And he said that.
All between the Secretary of State and Lavrov that led President Trump to believe that President Putin or the Russians did not want a peace deal.
That was not the sole reason, no. I think the Secretary Rubio felt that was actually a productive call. But again, the president wants to make sure that a meeting between himself and...
It was a productive call. That's why we canceled all our future meetings.
President Putin will be a good use of his time.
What exactly led to President Trump not believing, after his call on Thursday, when he said he did think he wanted peace and wanted a peace deal, to believing that Russians were not?
Again, the president wants to see action, not just talk. And I think the president is extremely motivated by the success of his peace deal in the Middle East to get things done. And he wants this war to come to an end. He's been saying it now for 9 months being in office, and he's grown increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress from both sides of this war. Mary.
You two quick construction questions, if I can. You mentioned any construction project comes with changes. The president had initially said that this project wouldn't interfere with or touch the current structure. Now he says to do this properly, he realized that the East Wing had to be demolished. This is the People's House. Why not inform the public of that change and when it was decided that the East Wing...
Exactly. Why not inform us, Caroline? Oh, she's not liking that. The people? You think I care about the people? Oh my goodness.
Would have to be demolished.
Look, again, with any construction project, changes come, and we have informed all of you. We've been keeping you apprised of this project. We've shown you the renderings. And if you look at the renderings, it's very clear the East Wing was going to be modernized. Instead, in fact, I said that.
But we lied. But we lied and said it wouldn't
in the
be
briefing
touched.
when we initially introduced this plan to all of you and to the public. Well, again, the plans changed when the president heard counsel from the architects and the construction companies who said that in order for this East Wing to be modern and beautiful for many, many years to come, for it to be a truly strong and stable structure, this phase 1 that we're now in was necessary. And the president wants to do right by the People's House. And so that's exactly what he's doing. It's going to be, again, like I said, much more stable, strong, secure, and more beautiful than ever once it's complete.
And the First Lady's offices, where will those be? The First Lady's offices, the Social Secretary's office? In the East Wing. They will be back where they were.
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you. Cattle ranchers who supported the president's election have raised some concerns about...
That one gave her a debuff. You can tell that one gave her a bit of a debuff right there. She's rocking with probably -5 perception.
How will Trump administration support those farmers?
Look, the president hears those concerns. He addressed them yesterday
and
himself.
You can tell with the -5 perception debuff, it's hard to answer questions. She can't see. She's lost the ability to see the lies. So she's going to start getting caught up in those lies, and those are never...
The president loves our ranchers, and our ranchers love our president. And in fact, the president did a lot for them in his first term here. They are struggling because of the many horrible policies of the previous administration. The president loves our ranchers, and he also loves American consumers. And
I feel like they're struggling because of the tariffs. I'm sorry. Every lie is just so provably wrong.
Do right by both. So the immediate solution to the problem of the rising cost of beef, the president wants to bring that down, is we have to increase our supply. And so that's what he's doing with respect to these imports. The president also is looking out for our ranchers with a long-term plan that was released by the Secretary of Agriculture yesterday. It's a 3-part plan. It's very extensive and detailed. I would encourage all of you to read through it. But there's really 3 points to this plan that the president has agreed upon and has entrusted Secretary Rollins to implement. Number 1, strengthening U.S. cattle production through increased grazing access, endangered species reforms, enhanced disaster relief, increased access to capital, and reducing costs for new and young ranchers. We want to incentivize more Americans to get into this noble profession. Lowering long-term costs by cutting inspection costs, increasing market options for consumers with Product of USA labeling, and ensuring consumers know that they are eating American beef. It's
Cutting inspection costs means we're not going to be checking if that beef is good anymore. That's what that means.
For the American consumer. And lastly,
I
growing the
love
domestic
bad
herd while
beef.
boosting long-term demand to reduce prices for consumers while growing the markets for our ranchers. So President hears them. He has to address both of these problems for the ranchers, but also for the American consumer. He promised to lower costs, and that's what he's committed to doing.
Caroline, thank you. Two questions not on the ballroom. The first is, there's a Democrat in Texas who's actually running for Congress who said last night during an interview when talking about fighting Republicans and this administration, quote, "If you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck." This has obviously really upset those folks over at Turning Point USA.
Oh my gosh, guys. Oh, they said something really mean this time.
After the Charlie Kirk assassination, just your response to that kind of rhetoric.
Just very jarring rhetoric. And
It's very jarring. My mouth was agape. That's her mouth being agape, folks.
I think it's very unacceptable. I hope the people of Texas will do the right thing and reject this person's candidacy. It should have no place in American politics.
God, that fucking dude's gonna smash.
And then just a quick second question on oversight. Democrats are saying that they're creating this master ICE tracker, basically tracking all ICE activity. We've seen the protests in New York.
Oh, yes, sir. We're getting that online. Let's go.
Just yesterday, Homeland Security is saying that this sounds like obstruction of justice. What do you say?
Again, this is actively putting the lives of our ICE agents at risk. We've seen media outlets, in fact, in this room, also write stories about ICE tracker apps that Democrats and other left-wing activists have created to track the location of ICE agents on the ground in our communities. Again, I've said this repeatedly, and I will continue to say it. The men and women of ICE are outstanding people. I wish a Democrat on Capitol Hill would actually have the courage or the guts to stand up to their party and sit down with some of these men and women who are doing this incredibly difficult job of enforcing our federal immigration laws. They are, again, simply trying to enforce the law and do their jobs. And if Democrats spend a little bit more time understanding that and also focusing on the people who they are trying to get out of our country every single day. As I spoke about earlier, 3 innocent people in California are dead because an illegal alien who Democrats let into this country was wrongfully issued a trucker's driving license and clearly was not fit for the job because he was driving intoxicated and killed 3 innocent people. Democrats should focus a little bit more on that.
She has no idea if the person was driving intoxicated. That's just how she...
Stop trying to fight this president and this administration on every turn and restore law and order. That's all that we...
Yeah, and you're also pushing these people into the shadows more. That's one of my biggest arguments against this stuff. You're pushing them into the fray. They are not going to want to come out, and they are not going to want to self-deport. That's a fucking fantasy. You know, they are directly making these people harder to find by doing these actions, by doing these public stunts.
We and these brave men and women of ICE are trying to do. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have 2 questions, one on San Francisco and one on the No Kings protesters. On San Francisco, the president said that he had a call with the mayor and he was planning on surging there, but now because the mayor really wants to fix it up himself, they're going to do that. Is this what Trump hopes happens in pretty much every city?
The president hopes, and I've said this so many times, and I think the president's conversation with the San Francisco mayor last night and his statement today prove the president is willing to work with anyone across the aisle.
The president was afraid. You know what I think he's afraid of, and I really do mean it, all the lawsuits he's been getting. We might not be able to get into this, but Pritzker announces a new order on accountability, and it seems like they're really holding these ICE agents accountable for they're trying to hold them accountable for their actions. So, yeah, I think Trump's chickening out on all of this stuff. I think he's chickening out when it comes to Ukraine. I think he's chickening out when it comes to the tariffs. I do. I think he's chickening out when it comes to a lot of things. This man is not fit to be president, and I think the American people are starting to realize that.
Across the country to do the right thing and clean up America's cities. He is genuinely interested in this effort to make our streets safer, to make our cities safe and clean again. And he heard from the mayor last night who told him that he is going to earnestly try to make his city better on his own. The president heard him out. He said, okay, I'll give you a
So
chance.
all you had to do is just grovel? Is that all you have to do? Well, fuck that. We live in a we live in a country of fucking honorable people. We're not gonna fucking grovel, you fucking silly goose. She looks like a silly goose today. She looks like a goose that got turned into a human. And that was the silly sweater that the fairy godmother gave her. Here, take my magical sweater. It glistens with my purple and blue sparkles.
We'll be watching, and if you need us, we are here. And if I feel as though you continue
Now I know how everybody felt on about Tan Suit Gate.
to fail your citizens, the federal government may have to step in. But we'll continue to watch San Francisco, and that law enforcement operation has now been paused.
That's very true. You put them at risk by putting them on the streets with masks as terror. Yeah, exactly. ICE did not have this nearly this bad a connotation as it does.
King's protesters. I saw videos of people explicitly calling for violence against Stephen Miller, against the president, shirts saying we don't have enough assassins, calling for more political violence. Does the president want to see arrests here, and are we going to see arrests of these types of explicit calls to violence?
I would think myself, the president, and everyone here at the White House certainly hopes that anyone who is making
Are people
violent
going to
and
be
illegal threats in
arrested
that
for their freedom of speech?
way against public
I
officials
hope
will be
so,
arrested
says
and prosecuted?
Sure.
Thank you. 2 questions. Will the president support the Senate ending the legislative filibuster to end shutdown?
This is something I haven't heard the president talk about much, so I don't want to speak on him for it. I'll let him answer that question himself.
Yeah, we don't know what the party line is yet.
Update on the NASA administrator nominee. Do you plan to nominate anyone soon? Or does the president
nominate
anyone soon?
Sorry. I'll leave that to the president himself. He'll make a decision in due time, and when he does, you will hear directly from him as you always do. Back, we'll give our friends in the back a chance. Yes.
As you mentioned at the top of the briefing, USDA has warned that it will run out of funds to pay full SNAP benefits next month if the shutdown continues. Senator Hawley is floating a bill that would ensure SNAP benefits are continued to pay during the shutdown. Would the president support such a move? And you also announced that the administration was using tariff revenue to keep WIC down. How long will that last? And is anything similar being considered for SNAP?
Yes, the administration would absolutely support that legislation. We hope that it would come over the finish line, but the bill that will get everyone paid and put everyone back to work is the clean continuing resolution. That's what the president and Republicans want to see.
I just want to kick this shit down the road, dude. Like, that is so embarrassing. Why don't you just fucking negotiate? They think they're gonna win this. We'll win this, dude. That's Trump's fault. You're the ones not negotiating here. And anybody trying to say different has no idea about the inner workings of the government.
Ed, go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, Sarah. On the Russian sanctions again, how much pressure do you think the sanctioning these 2 Russian companies actually puts on President Putin? Because the last administration sanctioned 2 other oil companies. So how much of pressure is this really?
A lot. If you read the sanctions and look at them, they're pretty hefty. And I saw some international news out of China this morning that they're scaling back oil purchases from Russia. We know India has done the same at the request of the president. The president has also pushed European countries, our allies, to please stop their purchases of Russian oil as well. So it's full court press for sure. And we expect that these sanctions are going to do harm, as the Secretary of Treasury said yesterday.
Is this just the first step, or could there be more sanctions?
I'll leave that to the president to decide. Sure.
You've seen the video or heard the NBA gambling involved in the gambling issue there. Does the president gamble? What does he think about that?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think he does. I've been with him quite some time, and I have not seen him gamble before. I don't think he's a big gambler, but you can ask him yourself next time you have a chance to.
He gambles on if the burger that he's about to eat is going to kill him.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Hi, Jake, and then we'll go to you. Thank you. You're welcome.
2 quick questions. Back to the ballroom. It is a very spectacular ballroom, according to the renderings. And if it's half as nice as the one in Mar-a-Lago, then future presidents are really going to appreciate it.
They will. Thank you, Jake.
First of all, is there like an official name? Like, are we calling it the Trump Ballroom, or does the president have a vision for what the name for the ballroom is going to be?
There will be an official name. I will let the president announce that once he firmly decides on it.
Second question is, looking at these renderings, and it kind of got me
gambles with America. Amen, pasta.
thinking he's likely going to go down as the greatest builder of this era, and you've been in on a lot of those meetings.
The greatest builder of this era.
With him, has to your knowledge, has the
fucking polished faucet
subject of rebuilding the Holy Temple in Jerusalem come up?
It has not. No, it has not. I don't.
What the fuck? Hey, I know you're building a ballroom. Speaking of building, you want to build the Holy Temple in Jerusalem? What the fuck? Who let this fucking crazy dude?
Pardon. Could this clear the way for finance to resume U.S. operations?
Oh, is that the new
I won't get ahead of
media
that. That's
spot?
something for Treasury or the Departments of Commerce to comment on, so you're welcome to ask them.
And then one follow-up question. Any more details on the president's Walter Reed visit? The readout from his doctor mentioned advanced imaging. What procedure was he referring to?
Advanced imaging is something that presidents receive and people receive when they go to the doctor, and so we provide a detailed readout of that physical, and I would encourage you back to that. Presidents and I don't know the exact imaging that took place, but
Hey, we're seeing if
as
the
the
worm
physician's
from
note said,
RFK's brain has finally
the
manifested.
president is in incredibly good shape, and I think that's evidenced here every single day. Danny.
Thanks, Caroline. Back to the ballroom, I'm afraid. I just wanted to ask, because in July, the White House said that
I don't really care about the ballroom. Anyways, that's it for the White House press briefing. Caroline Leavitt managing to sound and look like the dumbest person in the room. Full of Turning Point USA members. Anyways, we have an article to go over about Trump's reversal on his decision to send troops to San Francisco. This is an article by CBS by Isabella Murray. So go check it out. If you guys want, I'll put it in the description. Anyways, CBS News. President Donald Trump said Thursday that he's pulling back on his decision to send troops to a cleanup crime in San Francisco this weekend. Trump said on social media that he spoke with the city's mayor, Daniel Louis, Wednesday night, who asked the president give him a chance to turn things around. The federal government was preparing to surge San Francisco, California on Saturday, but friends of mine who live in the area called last night to ask me not to go forward with the surge in the mayor. Daniel Louis was making substantial progress. I spoke to Mayor Louis last night, and he asked very nicely that I give him a chance to see if he can turn it around, Trump wrote on his social media platform. Trump said the move could be a mistake and he could fix things much faster. But ultimately said, let's see how you do. Therefore, we will not surge San Francisco on Saturday, Trump concluded. In a statement Thursday, Lurie confirmed that, or Lurie, not Louis, my bad, confirmed that he spoke with Trump, saying he told the same thing he told residents. San Francisco is on the rise. We have work to do, and we would welcome continued partnership with the FBI, DEA, ATF, and U.S. attorneys to get drugs and drug dealers off our streets. But having the military and militarized immigration enforcement in our city will hinder our recovery, Lurdle said. We appreciate that the president understands we are the global hub for technology, and when San Francisco is strong, our country is strong. Lurie said Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem reaffirmed the decision in a conversation on Thursday morning. My team will continue to monitor the situation closely, and our city remains prepared for any scenario, he said. So I guess Donald Trump is just looking for people to grovel, and that's all it takes. If anything, this kind of exposes the conversations in which Donald Trump had with other mayors, because it seems like this mayor's kind of willing to, not bend the knee, but be like, oh yeah, such a great idea, placate him a little bit. What does that say for the mayors that aren't, or the governors that aren't willing to placate him? That's what I would like to know. Maybe that's what the effects, maybe that's why he sent ICE to all these ICE and the National Guard to all these places to quote unquote quell the riots. It's because they don't agree with him. Now, looking at the time, I don't think we'll have enough time to get into this full story, but I will link it, and it'll be in my Discord. It's a really not heartwarming, but a moving story about a family that fled Afghanistan, and then the U.S. deportation system got them and scattered them all across the world. It's a very harrowing story, and I highly recommend you guys go check it out. I did want to actually get to this Pitzer announcement, so we'll cover this poll after we get done watching this. This is Pitzer announcing a new order on accountability amid federal deployments in Illinois. So let's take a look.
From NBC Chicago.
And good Thursday morning to you. I'm Everard Cassamy.
And I'm Michelle Relaford. Any minute now, Governor Pritzker will take action against the possible deployment of
every person who calls this.
Oh, this dude looks
1979 at the Chicago Historical Society on the very desk President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Through Illinoisans' strong values and unwavering integrity, our state remains a trailblazer in protecting the dignity and equality of every person who calls this state home. Now the Illinois Human Rights Act is one of the most comprehensive and evolving frameworks of civil and human rights protections in our nation. And to be clear, it includes everyone. Our governor has always led on civil rights.
I might take a look at that
in my
Human
tenure
Rights Act after this and see if there's any cool little, not cool, but like tidbits that could improve our own when we eventually have to propose a new Civil Rights Act, because they've absolutely decimated it. It would be nice to take a look at some other states' Civil Rights Acts and see how they operate and how they are interpreted.
He has positioned Illinois as a leader in human rights protections and has expanded protected classes under the Act to meet the challenges of our time, of this time. In 2021, the Commission on Discrimination and Hate Crimes was reestablished and placed under the umbrella of the Department of Human Rights to address, understand, respond to, and prevent the sharp rise in hate. We're national leaders in those issues now as well. And now, as we witness our own federal government trample on human rights, creating fear for our neighbors and our families as they go to work or school or church, even to take their sick child to a hospital, champions of human rights have a moral obligation to take action. The Human Rights Act guarantees that every person in Illinois, regardless of immigration status, have the right to live free from harassment, violence, and discrimination. That is why today, Governor Pritzker is signing an executive order establishing the Illinois Commission on Accountability. And this commission, housed within the Illinois Department of Human Rights, will have the administrative and leadership support it needs to succeed, because this is fundamentally a human rights crisis. Now, with the Commission on Accountability, Illinoisans will ensure the transparency and the oversight of these federal actions that we're all witnessing in Illinois. This is about protecting human rights and restoring trust between law enforcement and the communities that they serve. This is about standing up for Illinois values when federal leadership has abandoned the American principles that all of us hold dear. And it is now my honor to introduce a governor who has never wavered.
Just because of the time we're looking at. Put it up to 1.55.
And protecting the people in the land of Lincoln, our governor, J.B. Pritzker.
Thank you very much, Jim, and good morning, everyone. It has been over a month since President Trump launched what he calls Operation Midway Blitz. It's a military-style assault on Chicago and our suburbs. In the short time, we have witnessed countless acts of harassment and intimidation and brutality and abuse of power perpetrated against law-abiding civilians across our communities. Trump's masked agents have detained innocent American citizens and legal residents. They have used unmarked cars, a Black Hawk helicopter, automatic weapons, and battering rams to raid.
Holy shit, a Black Hawk helicopter? What are they doing, dude? This is just ridiculous.
An apartment building filled with almost entirely, well, families and children. They've thrown tear gas and smoke grenades at peaceful crowds. Just yesterday, a Chicago alderman said a group of U.S. citizens were detained in Little Village and Cicero, including 2 of his staff members. We've seen this repeatedly, the demand for proof of citizenship without probable cause, with only the victim's skin color as a reason for the confrontation.
Hey guys, remember to like and subscribe to the stream. It really helps out our viewership. It really helps out people discovering the channel. Remember to like and subscribe. It should have highlighted when I did that. I like when it does that. It's very fun.
None of this is about crime or safety. If it were, there would be coordination with local law enforcement and judicial warrants. In any other country, sending masked federal agents to intimidate its own law-abiding residents would be seen as a dangerous overreach and an abuse of power. Under normal circumstances, federal agency supervisors and inspectors general would enforce proper legal procedures and protocols and hold accountable those who violate them. But Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, and Greg Bovino have failed their oaths of office and allowed agents under their command to act unconscionably.
Oh, he's calling out names. I always like Pritzker. He seems like somebody who's willing to fight, and I like that in the Democratic Party. We've had that, and I push back on the narrative that these far lefties push, that our Democratic representatives are out of touch and they don't understand. Not at all. They understand totally. They're just not as out there and in the open because they're actually trying to get real policy passed.
Under the color of law. They have given the impression that their actions are immune from investigation or accountability. They are not. We have a duty to ensure that the truth is preserved so the public can know what their elected and appointed officials have done, and so the courts and the Congress can eventually hold people accountable. It is imperative that none of the impropriety, brutality, and harassment perpetrated upon our people goes unnoticed. Every instance of abuse, of law breaking, or violent and violations of rights needs to be documented and archived. Since this began, I have encouraged the people of Illinois to use their phones and to record everything they are witnessing and post it on social media. But we must now take this a step further and create an official public record. Across the board, President Trump and the federal government have dodged accountability and dismantled the institutions responsible for checking that corruption and overreach that they're committing. Trump has fired 17 inspectors general. He has installed cronies and sycophants at the Department of Justice who are willing to look the other way. His MAGA allies in Congress have enthusiastically ignored or approved of it. No hearings, no oversight, no checks and balances. And while states have limited abilities against federal immunity, we must remind everyone that this is not forever. There will come a time where people of good faith are empowered to uphold the law. When the time comes, Illinois will have the testimony and the records needed to pursue justice to its fullest extent. Today, I'm signing an executive order creating the Illinois Accountability Commission, a body dedicated to truth, transparency, and justice. The commission will be charged with 3 core missions. 1, creating a public record of the abuses. 2, capturing
this is huge, because right now we don't really hear about what abuses the ICE agents are doing. So this is great. I have a feeling a lot more people
impact
than just people
on
in
families
Chicago
and communities. And 3, recommending actions to prevent further harm and to pursue justice. The commission will be led by truly an extraordinary group of highly qualified leaders who reflect Illinois' deep expertise, integrity, and commitment to justice. With support from the Illinois Department of Human Rights, the commission will collect testimony, hold hearings, and gather information and firsthand accounts from individuals, community members, subject matter experts, local officials, journalists, faith leaders, and organizations. The commission and the records they gather will shine more light on the misconduct of Trump's federal agents. The Trump administration officials have demonstrated on more than one occasion that they are willing to lie to the public and the media to mask their misdeeds. They have already and will continue to cover up abuses of power, cross the legal limits of their authority, and attempt to justify dangerous attacks that threaten our people and our communities. We hope to reveal to the public in Chicago, the state of Illinois, across the nation, and around the world, the facts on the ground about what is happening here. We intend to create a detailed record of the truth. And once this all ends, people of good faith will review what this commission has gathered and will demand accountability. Indeed, people are demanding that accountability even now. I'm glad to be joined here by members of the commission who all share a commitment to justice, transparency, and the rule of law. The Honorable Ruben Castillo will serve as chair. He served as a federal judge for the Northern District of Illinois for 25 years and served as the chief judge for 6 of those years. He served multiple terms on the U.S. Sentencing Commission.
Okay, well, if it's just glazing of the people on the council, that's exciting. This is something I know a lot of people have been asking for, so I'm excited to see what the results of it are, especially because you know they're committing way more abuses than they're letting on. Anyways, folks, for our final story of the day, we have a CBS News poll on whether California voters want Newsom or Harris to run for president. Now, I gave this comparison before. It's like cake or ice cream, you know, it's like, which one do you pick? Now, we do have an article, but my voice is kind of scratchy, so I do kind of wonder if there's no. This is about how they feel about Prop 50. All right, anyways, we will read over the article. This is an article by Anthony Salvanto, Jennifer DePinto, Fred Buckus, and Kabir Kahan. So shout out to them. As the state draws national attention, in part because of the Proposition 50 and redistricting, Californians also weigh in on what they think the state more generally can and can't show the nation, and on the potential prospects of some of its leading political figures. A large number of Californians in his own Democratic Party say Governor Gavin Newsom should run for president in 2028. But among California voters overall, the view is more split. Nationally, of course, an entrant on the Democratic side would first need to appeal to the party's rank and file in the primaries across many states. The perspective of home state voters on an elected official, either in opinions or in state results, is often taken as a view from the voters who presumably gotten to know their work more closely over the years. Newsom's overall approval rating as governor is positive and a little higher than the percentage of who want him to run in 2028. So this is the Gavin Newsom. Should Gavin run for president in 2028? Now, interestingly, all voters, 52%, say should not. Now, that's very interesting because among Democrats, only 28. So it looks like he's very popular within the Democratic Party. And all voters are saying, like a good proportion are saying he should, you know. And this is also after years of Gavin Newsom being governor. I'm sure there's a lot, and I mean a lot of misinformation that flies around about him. So this is hopeful for me. Although Harris is going to be the interesting one because I would love to know how they feel about Harris running again. Given that speculation, California voters tend to think Newsom right now is paying attention to both national and state issues, though fewer feel he is paying mind to their local issues. By comparison, more California Democrats say Newsom should run in 2028 than that of former President Kamala Harris, who previously represented California in the Senate. Wow, now this is interesting. Only 31% of California voters believe she should run for president. Now, that is higher than the 48% that we're seeing among Democrats. And interestingly enough, among Democrats, it's still only 48%. Now, I'm not sure why that could be, but over 69, almost 70%, a quarter or 3/4 of a quarter believe she should not run for president. And overall, 52% of Democrats believe that. Now, I don't know why they would think that. They probably saw how the presidency went, and given she's been kind of quiet on the world stage since, this is a pretty typical. This is to be expected, you know. Interestingly enough, though, still 48% saying she should run. Still half of the party saying we should give another shot to Harris. I don't know what you do with that data, interpret it how you feel, but interesting data nonetheless. Now, fewer than a third of the state's voters and just under half of California Democrats think she should run. She won her home state when she ran back in 2024. Most independents don't think Newsom or Harris should run, but by comparison, they are more likely to think Newsom should run. California and the nation, where and where doesn't it set an example? As Californians are thinking about Prop 50 in national terms, we also wanted to know how they saw the state relative to the nation on other matters too. Californians think the state sets a good example for the rest of the U.S. on technology and innovation, on culture, and for slight majority on environmental policy. But few think it sets a good example on housing policy. Most California voters also describe the cost of living in the state more generally as unmanageable, on tax policy, and on economic policy, or on its politics. So so from this chart we're seeing most Californians think that technology, culture, environmental policy is doing well, but interestingly they believe that the politics are actually a little bit higher than the economic policy. That's very interesting. A lot of Californians believing in the politics of California and the economic policy. However, when it comes to tax and housing policy, it is extremely bad. Those are numbers you would never want to see on a political data slab. But with that being said, that is just absolutely shocking that they feel that way about the tax, or not the tax policy, but the politics. The politics, I'm assuming, is talking about the culture war stuff. But a large majority actually believe in the politics, or not a large majority, but a majority believe in the politics more than the economic policy. California being the top GDP producer of the United States. So interesting. Perhaps related, most Californians, including many with higher incomes, describe the cost of living in the state as either somewhat or very unmanageable. And this right here, this chart is pretty much dead on with how most of America feels right now. A large percentage of Californians and Americans thinking that the cost of living is just unmanageable. And it makes sense. You see prices at the grocery store growing higher, and subsidies from the state can only do so much to account for Trump's terrible, terrible economic policy. Against that backdrop, California's submarital race will take place next year, with the primary also still many months off to establish the top two vote getters for the November 2026 general election. As with any contest so distant, voters can and do consider multiple candidates or potential entrants, and long before having to make a single choice. That is reflected here. For many voters, they have not heard enough about many. In all, current Democratic Senator Alex Padilla of California is the most considered name. Though he's not a candidate, there are reports he may be considering entering the race, and particularly so amongst Democrats. He's also won statewide office before, and by comparison is best known to voters. Former Rep. Katie Porter remains slightly more considered than other Democrats besides Padilla, but also has somewhat higher numbers, saying she's not being considered. Also, as part of the early process, there are plenty of cross-consideration. Most of the voters considering Porter are also considering Padilla, and vice versa. Democratic voters are often considering a number of the Democrats running. The overall number who haven't heard enough or who are cross-considering only emphasizes the point that is in the mind of the voters that the next year contest is only just the beginning to take shape. Interesting. So it looks like Padilla is leading. But Katie Porter, look at her, 41%, or not 41%, 32% haven't heard enough. Now, that's really big because it sounds like they might agree with some of her policies. Although Alex leading ahead by a long shot there. And of course, the first Republican to come up, Steve Hilton, only 19% considering, a huge 37% not considering. Not surprising there. California being a much bluer state than most of the nation, and that is reflected with the charts here. In a state where voters of one party outnumbered the other by such a wide margin, one dynamic to watch is who is seen as trying to earn votes or as taking them for granted. Neither party does especially well overall, with Democrats faring a little better than Republicans on being seen as trying to earn votes, but also worse on perception of taking votes for granted. A lot of independents are skeptical of both parties, and only about a quarter of them feeling that Californians, Democrats, or its Republicans try to earn their votes, which is pretty typical seen amongst most political surveys. Most people don't think politicians are trying to help us. Now, that is obviously not true, considering I think the vast majority of Democrats are trying to help their constituents. They are trying to help their voters, and I think some Republicans even do, but unfortunately their party has been taken over by the MAGA beast. And with that, that is going to end our news. That's going to end our react. All we have now left in this stream is to get down and, we got to do the famous Asia pivot today because we got MAGA music to listen to. Now, yesterday we saw Forgiato Blow released a banger, banger. But let's see if he's got anything else down here. That is ugly. Now, this guy, this one was just ridiculous. Now, I think we'll play this one, mainly because he tried to burn it out of everybody's mind that he made a song about lynching people when it was just two white dudes, and then they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, JK," and then he added African American person. So Forgiato Blow, I just want you guys to know, uses African Americans, uses minorities as props. He does not believe that minorities have free will. He believes they should just be used as a prop. And you guys can see that in a lot of his videos. And it becomes apparent when he flaunts the women. That's when it becomes really apparent, when he flaunts the women. And he's got the colonizer mindset. You know, it's all, or it's really just one Latino woman. I think that might be his wife, but I don't know if he's paying her enough for that. So anyways, guys, it's been an amazing stream. I really appreciate all of you guys coming. We had a bit of a higher turnout than we usually do, so thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe the video. It means the world to me. I'm only able to do this because of you guys. I'm only able to come on here because I see that you guys enjoy it. So anyways, guys, without further ado, Forgiato Blow and JJ Law. Actually, hold on. Before you guys leave, after this stream, go check out IRI and tell him that guy doesn't exist sent you. Go check out IRI. He's streaming live right now. Go check out his live. I take a lot of inspiration from that guy in Loner. So anyways, with that being said, it's Real Homie Hours. Forgiato Blow, JJ Lawhern, good and evil.
Whoa, we need a big tall tree and a short piece of rope. Hang them up high and sundown. Leave them.
I didn't mean for it to be sped up, but let's keep it. I like that. Later, guys. Take care.
So the folks all know you don't mess around in our town. A big tall tree and a short piece of rope. Hang them up high and sundown. Leave them swinging so the folks all know you don't mess around in our town.
Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. But if you do, bitch, we'll hang you in a fucking field. We don't judge by skin, we judge by soul. So God can judge your sin, but bitch, you gotta go. Austin Metcalf lost his life at a track meet. The news won't say it, so I say it on a trap beat. And while they running from accountability, Lincoln Riley was murdered while she was running in the streets. Who would've thought the girl who left the danger in Ukraine would get her life taken riding on a train by a nigga when she's rapping Black Lives Matter? But you triggered by this song, tell me which is sad.
A big tall tree and a short piece of rope. Hang them up high and sundown. Leave them swinging so the folks all know you don't mess around in our town. A big tall tree and a short piece of rope. Hang them up high and sundown. Leave them swinging so the folks all know you don't mess around in our town. Oh, there's too much crime in the streets these days. Too much evil going down. If they get them up out of the bricks for a while, the judge turned them loose on the town. How many mothers gotta cry? How many children gotta die before we put it into all this mess? We ought to do it like they did it way back in the day, cause granddaddy's way it works best. Who's gonna right them wrongs, my friend? Vengeance is the Lord's, but brother, justice ain't a sin. We need a big tall tree and a short piece of rope.